So everybody knows the Ten Commandments, or that's one of the first things they learn. But I like to point out certain discrepancies. Maybe we don't understand them as well as we should or think we do, just because we memorized them when we were kids or whatever. Even just for example, keep holy the Sabbath. Well, we don't do that. The Sabbath is Saturday. We don't keep the Sabbath. But automatically, and not without reason, we Christians, transfer that to Sunday, and that's the way we keep the commandment. Okay, but you have modified the thing. And even the number of the commandments, right? The 10 Commandments, some people number them differently. For example, when I was a kid, I learned that, the ninth and what we call the ninth and the 10th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's goods or your neighbor's wife. Well, that's just one commandment. Don't covet your neighbor's whatever. So where do we get the 10? Well, many, and with good reason, starting with, the Jewish people, they take the first two commandments. The first commandment is, I'm the Lord your God, you shall have no other gods before me. Second commandment, and you shall not make any images of anything that crawls on the earth or flies in the sky, to have the danger of becoming an idol. So those actually become two commandments. And not making idols, it's a lot more subtle than, not making golden calves or golden trumps. But what other things are we putting in place of God? It's a lot more subtle, than just making, idols that are sculpted. Which brings me to the next commandment, however you number it, which people constantly misinterpret. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Okay. So I want to talk about that, precisely in relation to not having false gods. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Now, what does that even mean? Take it in vain? Okay. Is it like he tried to climb the mountain but in vain? He didn't make it? No, that's not what it means. So what do we mean by in vain? Take it in vain. Now, the Hebrew word for in vain is lashau. And shau, many scholars believe it's basically the same word as the Shoah. Shoah. And the Shoah, as you know, is in modern times refers to the Holocaust. And it means destruction and ruin, literally. So what we mean is, don't use the name of your God for destructive purposes. And that's a little trickier. Because, so often we take it so superficially, like, oops, I said God. When OMG, when you text, oh, that's a sin. Oh, no, I shouldn't. That's silly. Get over yourselves. Besides, God isn't God's name. God is a job description. So that's not God's name. So you don't take it in vain if you just say God. God's name, as we know from the scriptures, is it will be what was called the tetragrammaton, the four letters which the Jewish people don't take in vain to the extent of never even pronouncing it. That's how reverent they are for God's actual name. So that's very interesting, isn't it? But of course, in addition, then people think, oh, well, that means I also can't use other four-letter words, and that's against the second commandment, which is, it's not. Or then they say that's cursing, which it's not. So that would be a whole another homily. So what do we mean by that? Well, are you using the name of God? Are you using God for destructive purposes? Which we've done all the time, and we still do all the time, do we not? Whether the Crusades, or burning people at the stake, or other religions too, in the name of God, the destruction of people, the destruction, with jihads and, Islam, the Islamists. So this is taking the name of the Lord, your God, in vain, and making an idol out of God to make it violent. So violence in the name of God is taking his name for destructive purposes. And well, there are other ways too that you can mistreat people in God's name. Look at the past of anti-Semitism and slavery, or still today the mistreatment of the LGBTQ community. That's making an idol out of your interpretation, a misinterpretation in the end, of Scripture and tradition. You can make idols. We can take the name of God in vain by using it for destructive purposes and make idols out of our formulations, whether Scripture or dogmatic formulas or moral formulas sometimes. We can make idols out of those and misuse them for mistreating people. How many centuries did we use the New Testament to justify slavery? And as I say, we're still using it to mistreat gay people. Whereas we've progressed far enough in science and psychology and scriptural scholarship and theology that we can't be doing any of that with anything even remotely resembling good faith anymore. We're using God for destructive purposes, taking his name in vain. See, this gets really, really serious here. It's a lot more than just saying OMG. There's an article, in fact, in this month's Commonweal magazine by a Bible translator, a professional translator, a gospel translator, who says, we can make idols out of texts, even Scripture. Obviously, other texts, including, she says, the Constitution, and that's another whole homily. But these aren't God. Even the Bible is not God. It's the Word filtered down through culture and human consciousness, and we need to grow in our understanding of who God really is. Nothing is God except God. Now, Muslims are great at that, we should be too. Only God is God. Nothing else is God. Otherwise, we make idols and we wind up taking God's name in vain and using God for destructive purposes. Well, look at the other readings today, perfect examples of what we're talking about. That magnificent second reading from Paul's first chapter of the first letter to the Corinthians, where he says, God's foolishness is wiser than human beings, and God's weakness is stronger than human beings, referring to Christ on the cross instead of human wisdom and human strength and militarism and all that stuff in the name of God, which is completely contrary to Christ. Look at what we have there. Weakness and foolishness in human terms. Weakness and foolishness. Love your enemy. Turn the other cheek. Don't return evil for evil. Oh yeah? Sounds like we've used God for destructive purposes and in vain all over the centuries in violence, not accepting the weakness and the vulnerability and the foolishness of the God we claim to worship. Who would ever say that we've reverenced God by being weak enough and foolish enough, like Jesus, in human terms? Are we weak enough and foolish enough to say we're not using God's name in vain for our other projects? Or look at the gospel today. Here's Jesus coming in and saying, "This is my Father's house. You're making it a marketplace." Look at our own hearts or our own world or our own culture. The idolatry of money and power, again, using God's name in vain. Making our churches places of power and privilege, clericalism, for example, making the church a marketplace, basically, where you just attain power and privilege. And we see the results of clericalism, of course, in so many things, including the abuse scandal, etc. It's a place of prayer and humility and self-gift. Stop making it a marketplace of privilege and power. Or what he goes on to say about the temple. These magnificent structures that we so reverence. But then he reminds us, or the gospel reminds us, that he's the temple. His own body, and by extension, the body of Christ, is the temple. Are we misusing God by focusing on the beautiful splendor of buildings instead of seeing God where he more deeply and truly is, in the hearts and souls of our brothers and sisters? We were rightly grieved, 2 years ago by the fire at Notre Dame in Paris, the beautiful structure. Do we lament with as much heart the mistreatment of the homeless person or the immigrant or the refugee in front of the church? In the plaza outside Notre Dame? If not, we're misusing God, and we're taking his name in vain because we're not seeing God where he really is, and using it for destructive purposes to oppress or neglect or mistreat God's temple. Wow. We're constantly making idols, and we're constantly misusing God for destructive purposes. So I guess we have a lot of self-examination to do, both as a community and as individuals. All of us, see how we're taking God's name in vain, using God for destructive purposes. We're not going deep enough into where God really is and making idols. It's a lot subtler than we think. Yeah, and God knows us only too well. I mean, how did you like those last verses of the gospel today? Jesus didn't need anybody to testify to him about human nature, and he didn't entrust himself to them. He knew them only all too well. But in fact, he does entrust himself to us, despite the fact that he knows us all too well. Lucky for us. Lucky for us, he makes us his temple. And he proves who God really is by showing God's weakness and foolishness in embracing us and coming to us in the Eucharist and in the Holy Spirit and in grace and his inspirations moment by moment. How foolish and how weak can you be? But that's who God really is. That's who God really is. So let's stop taking his name in vain.